Hi everyone, welcome back to the 21 and Sensory podcast with me, your host, Emily. I've not been a very good host, I'm not going to lie, because this is episode 14, and although that is great, I realised that I said in episode 13 that I'd be podcasting more, and that was done on, I think, the last day in December last year, so 2018. And it's now currently Monday 6th of May and I'm recording the next one. So I'd like to apologise for the 5-month delay in podcasting. To be honest, I've been focusing more on my social media platforms and keeping those up to date than I have my podcast, which is pretty poor. But yeah, I'm back. I have literally so much to talk about. This is going to be like a bumper episode of 21 Sensory podcast. I've been really busy this year, but it's now kind of starting to get a little bit quieter, kind of work-wise for me. You might hear my dog in the background. He's very kind of groany, so sorry if you hear him. Yeah, it's kind of my year's gone a little bit quieter work-wise, but I feel like it'll pick up a little bit towards the summer. If you don't know, I work full-time as a graphic designer in-house for a company, so I'm their solo graphic designer. So a lot of all the design work comes to me, so I can be quite busy. But yeah, it's been good. It's been a good year so far. Can't quite believe we're in May already. So yeah, I have so much to talk about. I was going to kind of read out some of my blog posts that I've done over the past 5 months. I want to mention my birthday, which is coming up, illustrations, am I an illustrator, that sort of thing. I'm also going to do the same feature that I usually do, which is where you guess where I've been, because I've been recording sounds out and about, recording sound clips and things, so that should be interesting. And I also want to go over some Instagram questions you guys have asked me. So I'm gonna I've got a huge list of all the questions that you've asked me on Instagram and Twitter over the past 5 months. So I thought I'd read them out on my podcast just in case anyone was interested in them. So I'll go over that as well. Other than that, I think there's lots more news that I want to share and stuff. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this podcast and let me know via social media if you have listened to it. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into the whole kind of questions that I've been asked and answers I've given via Instagram. I tend to do this quite often, so I'll just put up an Instagram story and say, if anyone has any questions, feel free to message me, and Instagram has this little question box that you can type questions into. Anyway, so questions I have been asked. Let's have a look. I've got them all up on my computer. So the first one I have been asked is, I've got to scroll down to it. Okie dokie. Do you ever feel weird / different / insecure because of your sensory processing disorder? So this is a really great question, and if I'm honest, I do 100% feel weird because it's my senses are always on a high alert, and everything is too loud, bright, colourful, strong smelling, scratchy, etc. I do feel very different, especially because of my age. I'm 24, almost 25. I think people expect me to be out 24/7, socialising, drinking, partying, that sort of thing. But that's why I kind of made my blog and my Instagram and my Twitter and my podcast, because I really want to find other people out there who are struggling with the same things daily as me, and just talk kind of all things sensory related, as well as sharing tips and tricks. So I've chatted to so many amazing people, and so I do feel like I'm part of a community of other lovely people who understand exactly what it's like. So I hope that kind of answered that question. What's the first signs you notice when you're beginning to be sensory overloaded? So for me, it tends to be my mood plummets and I have like a fight or flight response, which means I'll start to kind of cry and escape the environment quickly. Sometimes I'm quite good at kind of masking how I feel, so I won't sort of cry until I get home. So I'm quite good at removing myself, for example, from like a loud situation if I'm starting to feel super overwhelmed or on the verge of a meltdown. Also, I feel like I can get super hot or super cold, and then that kind of makes me feel totally zoned out, which is never very nice. So those are the kind of like initial first signs I get. Okay, so next question. What happens to you when you're in sensory overload? So this is equally like a good question, but it's always like a weird, like hard thing to explain. Like it's almost like I'm shutting down, like if you picture like shutting down a computer. I feel totally overwhelmed and I get like incredibly emotional, tearful, zoned out, and generally just feel odd. I tend to bite my nails really badly, and this ramps up even more during times like this. I can go quite non-verbal and not be able to explain to anyone what's really happening. My go-to thing is to like try and find the nearest toilet that I can lock myself in, which helps me escape the environment or the situation that started the whole overload. And then when I get home, I tend to retreat to my room and lie under my weighted blanket and duvet. So I kind of then experience a sort of sensory hangover, which I'll come back to later in the podcast. And it just means that I need to be in a quiet place on my own for a bit to kind of recuperate and feel better. Okay. Next question. How does stress affect your ability to handle different sensory stimuli? Ooh, that was a mouthful. Right. Okay, so for me, I feel like stress makes everything sensory-wise like 100% worse, which isn't great. So I find I can kind of tip into sensory overload or a meltdown much quicker when I'm stressed. And even like a sudden noise or annoying smell can really like grate on my nerves. So I try and stick to routine and work like the same hours each day and take regular breaks, etc. But I also have a to-do list that keeps me on track daily in my life and work. Like I feel like I couldn't function without having a to-do list because I forget things easily. I always try and avoid stressful situations where possible, and I feel like I'm slowly getting better at saying no to things like events that I don't feel I can handle. Okay, next question. How do you handle the overwhelm when you feel like you have made someone uncomfortable? So I try not to overthink things. I think the worst thing you can do is rerun over what you've said, like, and overanalyze things, because it can lead to like so much stress and like unnecessary angst. I struggle with this, as it's kind of so easy to lay awake at night and overthink things. But I think you've just got to remember that the other person isn't thinking about the conversation you had with them hours ago. Like, they've moved on with their day and lives, and I think it's important to remember that a bit. Like, I feel like I almost can't say this because I'm very much someone who will overthink things and stay awake at night and think, why did I say that in that conversation? Even if it's like a few weeks ago or something. But yeah, just try and remember that the other person's probably moved on with their lives. So just think, it doesn't matter to them. Right. What do you do regarding not understanding typical boundaries in social or work context, i.e. talking religion at work? This can be difficult because the boundaries are never very clear, and I totally understand that. Like, try and put yourself in someone else's shoes and think, could this spark a debate or like upset somebody? Like, before you go ahead and talk about it. So like, for example, I don't talk about politics with anyone because, to be honest, I don't understand it all. But also I know that like something like politics and like, I don't know what party or group you're behind or whatever. Like, I know people can be quite sensitive to that topic. So I don't understand politics at all. Let's take politics for an example. So I don't engage in any conversation about it. And if someone asks me my opinion, I say, to be honest, it's not something, I just be upfront. I say it kind of goes all over my head, and politics is not something I understand a great deal about. I think it's better to be honest in that situation. So yeah, that's what I suggest. Okay. Do you ever punish yourself by not allowing yourself to stim? I don't think so. Like, if anything, I'm the opposite. So like, I can forget that like stimming can help me, which is like why I have a post-it note on my sensory/fidget box that says helpful crap, use me. Which people have commented on because I think I've posted my sensory box on YouTube, and people always find that little post-it note hilarious, but it reminds me to use the stuff in it. I just forget in times of overwhelm, like what helps me. And I think, like, just to add, you should never punish yourself for anything, like whether it's stimming, etc. Like, you shouldn't punish yourself for not doing it or for doing it. You know, it's up to you what makes you happy and what kind of, you know, works for you. Okay. Then like I kind of get not just sensory questions, which is totally fine. I'm open to answering whatever. So someone asked me what my favourite weather was, which was very interesting. And I think my favourite weather is blue skies and sunshine, but like not like baking hot, because I'm very pale and I get sunburnt very easily. And I tend to wear like jumpers all year round, as like sensory wise. I don't like having bare arms, so I never go out in like a t-shirt. I always have like long sleeves on. So I'd say that's my favourite weather. Someone else asked me, do you have a favourite sensory seeking activity? And they said that theirs was stepping in damp mud / sand. Which, this is a good question. I'd say I'm more of a sensory defensive person than a sensory seeker, so I would actively avoid things like mud and sand. I do love like things like motion though, so things like swings, like in the park and stuff like that. I'm very much that sort of person, and I quite like I don't know, I'm not scared of heights, that sort of thing. I kind of enjoy kind of motion and being up high, which is very weird. Also, I like kind of like deep pressure stuff, like weighted blankets, which I find are definitely the best. Okay, what's your favourite fidget toy currently? So that's a really tough one, actually. I have this little sequin doorstop at the moment. It's like a weighted doorstop that I sit with like on my lap, and I brush the sequins on it like back and forwards. I think you can get like cushions and like notebooks with like these sequins that you can like almost like write in, because they go like back and forward. So that's one of my favourite stims at the moment. But I also love my Chewigem, like Chewy necklaces. I have like 2 or 3 of them. 3? Yeah, 3. If you're interested in looking at my Chewigem necklaces, I think I've posted about them on my Instagram and on my blog. But yeah, they're really good. So those are my 2. I kind of said 2. I didn't have a one favourite fidget. I had this is a really random question, but I'm totally open to answering whatever. Someone asked me if I had ever smoked any weed, and I have never smoked any weed, and I don't ever intend to. I don't smoke, and I don't do drugs, and I actually don't really drink any alcohol at all, and I'm happy that way. So just to let you know. Another question I got is, how have you been? It's been a while. Hope you're all right. I said, yeah, it has been a while since I've kind of done a Q&A and stuff, but I've just been mega busy at work, and it's been a bit kind of hectic the past few months, but obviously I am back. Okay, how do you explain SPD to non-autistics? Ooh, good question. So usually I put it like really simply. I just say like SPD is like a sort of neurological traffic jam in my head. So I'm kind of receiving too many signals at once that I can't really filter or like process properly, which can end up in me having like a sensory meltdown or burnout. So I feel like I receive information like 24/7 and my brain just can't process it all. And it's kind of very overwhelming sensory wise, because everything seems to be like too bright, too loud, etc. So that's how I would explain it, like kind of briefly. Okay. Someone else asked me, do you identify within the ASD spectrum, or do you find SPD fits more uniquely? So I'm diagnosed or like assessed with sensory processing disorder, but I think recently I've kind of come to the realisation, age 24, that I think I might actually sit on the autistic spectrum. My psychologist at the time, so this was a few months ago, was very keen for me to go and have an ASD assessment, so I'm still on like waiting list for that. So I feel like I have a lot of sensory related problems. So at the moment the SPD label works well for me in a way, because it sums up all my kind of, not problems, but my sensory kind of bits and pieces. I do feel like I sit on the spectrum somewhere, and maybe that would work as well in terms of, you know, in a tough situation, explaining to someone quickly, oh, I'm on the autism spectrum. That might kind of be an easier thing to say rather than, I have sensory processing disorder, because not as many people have heard of that as they have of autism, if that makes sense. Okay, next question. How did you get diagnosed with sensory processing disorder? So this is something I've kind of blogged about before. I think it's on my About Me page as well, on my blog. Yeah, but anyway, I was diagnosed and assessed as having sensory processing disorder age sort of 8 by an occupational therapist. So I was referred to the OT by an educational psychologist that I saw when I was having problems at school. I found primary school really difficult, and secondary school to be fair, but primary school particularly difficult in terms of kind of settling in and fitting in, and I just struggled generally. I've since kind of returned to different OTs throughout my life, and I've found occupational therapy the most helpful therapy for my sensory issues. So if you want to know more about that, go over to my blog, read my About Me page, and I think I've got links to bits and pieces as well. There's a whole kind of bio section that you can read. And then I think the very last question, let me double check it's the last question, it is: how do you deal with stimming when you need to be perceived as strong? I think this is a really interesting question, because I don't think stimming makes you come across as weak or anything. Like, it's a very specific question, and I would say that I stim more at home and not in my workplace. Maybe I think I do subtly, kind of, I don't know, like with my feet and hands under the desk at work. But I never really think about it being like strong or weak, or for doing it or not, I guess. Like, I think you should be, happy, like do whatever makes you happy in life. And if stimming like gives you joy and it gives you that kind of like, I don't know, sensory regulation, then you should go for it. Because if it's something that helps you, helps you in the world around you to kind of make sense of it all, then I don't see why it's a problem. And I don't think you should see it as a strong or weak thing. It's a thing that helps you cope in life, and I think go for it. So yeah, that was a really long Q&A. So those are all the questions I've had over the past 5 months. So this has been almost 15 minutes of questions. If you have any more questions, do feel free to either message me on Instagram or Twitter, or my email. I think it's 21andsensory@gmail.com. I've also started trying out this thing that a lot of people I've seen on Instagram are using, which is, I think it's called Tell on Me. I don't know how you say it, but I think that link is on my Instagram as well, which is like, it's kind of like an anonymous place you can ask questions online. So if you search 21 Century on that website, you'll find me on there, and you can ask me a question anonymously, which I understand, like sometimes people want to ask something but they're worried about, me knowing who it is and stuff like that, which I totally understand. So yeah, you can try that out as well. I'll leave a link in the like show notes, as people who have podcasts say, so that if you do want to ask a question anonymously, you can. Okay, I hope that was interesting. Yeah, and I will continue to answer your questions, and yeah, don't ever feel worried to message me. So I want to talk to you guys about something that I experience quite a lot. It's called sensory hangover. Well, that's what I refer to it as. But I think a lot of people call it kind of like a social hangover almost. So I'm going to explain what on earth a sensory hangover is. And before you listen to me explain what it is, it doesn't have anything to do with drinking or alcohol consumption. So to me, like, a sensory hangover is a term I've started to use, like, in my head, to describe the state in which I'm left in, like, after being in an overwhelming place or environment or like scenario, etc. So a sensory hangover like begins, like, I would say on instant return to my house. So I can get emotional and feel like totally overwhelmed and stressed out. So an example of this, I was invited to my friend's 21st birthday. This is an example from a while back, because obviously I'm 24. So yeah, I was invited to my friend's 21st birthday party, and it was at her house, and it was like a surprise birthday party, and I hate surprises. I felt really awful and sick and like spaced out for the first part of the evening because my friend wasn't even at the party, and I kind of managed to hang out with 2 other girls that I knew. Then when my friend came into the room, I had to like ready myself for everyone shouting surprise like super loud with much like clapping, hugging, kissing and music like accompanying it all. So it was all kind of too much, and I made my excuses and I left like relatively early in the evening. And then when I got home, I cried a lot, and my parents were like understanding, but I just couldn't hold my emotions in, and I felt completely weird for the rest of the evening and most of the next day. Like, what I'm trying to say is it took like a real chunk of my energy out of me, and I was left sort of unable to process everything and all messy inside my head. So now, obviously, I'm much older. I try to be way more conscious of where I go, for how long, and what will be there that could affect me. I do say no more often now, although I have like, I don't know if you've heard of it, FOMO, which is just fear of missing out. So I know it's for the better, and I'm like way happier not going and having a chilled night instead. Sound is like a huge issue for me and can really quickly bring on a sensory hangover. So I feel physically drained and unable to process or like compute what people are saying in noisy situations. So I prefer to just remove myself from them entirely. I think like the sensory hangover can then move on a bit, and I have episodes of like intense OCD where I feel the urge to like clean obsessively, like whether it's like myself in terms of like having a bath or shower, or like my bedroom, or tidying another room in the house. I quite like organising cupboards. It like keeps me busy and distracted and occupied, which I find helpful, and I really enjoy tidying my room and putting things away every few days. Anyway, so to come back to it, to put it simply, a sensory hangover describes the physically tired, mentally drained and totally spaced out feeling I have after an overwhelming social interaction. The feeling of a sensory hangover will come over me sort of immediately after an overwhelming thing and can last from a few minutes to even a day in length, which to me equals not cool. I'd be really interested to hear if any of you guys have experienced a sensory / autistic type / call it whatever you want, kind of suits you sort of hangover. I know a lot of people have like a kind of they describe it as like autistic burnout or autistic meltdown kind of thing, where you're just kind of physically tired, and I feel like this all comes under the same kind of, you know, tree of kind of hangover, if that makes sense. But yeah, if you've ever experienced anything like that, it'd be really interesting to hear your experience. Yeah, I think it'd be really good to like spread awareness of this sort of thing. And I know that also a lot of kind of introverted people experience this with like social things that like totally like zap their energy, and they have to kind of, it's almost like a case of recharging your batteries, is you kind of go home, recharge yourself in order to get back out in the world again. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you guys, and yeah, let me know what you think. Okay everybody, your favourite feature has returned. It is Guess the Noises. I don't even know if it's anyone's favourite feature, to be honest, but I enjoy doing it. So yeah, how many, do you know what, let's have a look. How many noises did I record? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I have 9 different noises I've recorded out in the world, and I'm going to play them one after another, and then I think I'll separate them with a beep like I usually do. And then at the so you can kind of either write them down and try and guess them, or at the end I'll just tell you what they all are. So yeah, try and guess the noise, guys.
My one that I got at home. Fucking bad lazy leg. It's 5 clicks a cable. Oh, and he spoke to Pete today. I was going to his door. He said, I don't even think about it. We've got 70 odd. Well, yeah, so it'll move quite obviously. Waiting on someone to say that it's that's what that we would play.
Right then, could you guys guess any of the noises at all? If you did guess any of them, tweet me, message me, email me, tell me if you even like this feature. If you don't, I can totally scrap it. Yeah, okay, so the first noise was the noise of what probably most of you know is the self-checkouts. Whoop! Those self-checkouts at supermarkets and grocery stores all around the world. Yes, don't we love them? I'm one of those people who would prefer to go to a self-checkout than a real human. I'm sure there's lots of us out there. The one thing I don't like about self-checkouts is that usually they don't work, so they usually require a human to come and sort them out. But there's just so much beeping, which can be a little bit annoying. I don't think I could ever work at a supermarket. I have worked in retail, but it wasn't a supermarket. Just because it's such a noisy environment, and I feel like tannoy announcements and stuff like that would catch me off guard all the time. So yeah, anyway, that was me at self-checkout. I think it was either a Tesco or a Sainsbury's in the UK. Yep, so well done if you guessed that. I don't think, I started off easy, let's be honest guys, I started off easy. Okay, so the second thing I recorded was a bath running, or a bath filling. So this was just me running a bath, and I thought also it would be nice to bring something relaxing sounding to the whole guess the noise feature, because usually it's lots of really annoying sounds. So I thought I'd add in a relaxing one for once. So that was a nice little bath running. Okay, so the third noise I recorded was some ambient sound in a restaurant. So well done if you guessed that. You probably did. It was just kind of background noise. I think I recorded it between eating like a main meal. Yeah, I mean, I find it like restaurants are quite difficult, like because you have to try and filter the noise as well as like eating, which sounds really stupid, but I've done a blog post on this before where I've said that I find it really difficult to like filter the conversations going on around me, filter the conversations of the people who were in front of me, and also know whether I'm full or not. I get this really weird thing where I can't, when I'm in a noisy environment, I can't tell if I'm full or not. I don't get that like sensory feeling or feedback, which I know is weird, but I have mentioned this before in a blog post and previous podcast, I think. So that was background noise in a restaurant, bit noisy, always difficult to talk to people because like I'll find I'm trying to concentrate on them and I can see their lips moving, but I can hear the stuff around me more. So it's a case of tuning in, like you tune in a TV. Okay, number 4 was I was in a bar, which is very unlike me. So it was a work colleague's leaving do, and she'd been at the company that I'm at for 8 years. I've been at the company for about 18 months, but I felt like I had to go kind of thing, as she was like quite a big like part of our team. So we went to a bar, and I think you can kind of hear the like jazz music in it. So it was kind of it's a relatively small bar in my like town centre, which was quite nice. But yeah, obviously like you can hear everyone's talking. So we're in like there's like a relatively big group of us, about 9 or 10 of us around a table. But there's also music in the background, which is really difficult to filter out. But I managed to order a mocktail, which I was very proud of because it was a super loud environment and I managed to pay for that without feeling too awkward. So yeah, I feel like I did well in that situation. So I was quite proud of myself. Okay, what noise are we up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I think this was, I went to a conference with one of my fave people, and it's like a kind of big, like, what do you call them, like exhibition centres kind of thing. So we went one of those, and it was like super echoey. The noise wasn't like ridiculous. I think it was just a kind of, do you know what I mean? Like when it's like a kind of hubbub of like kind of background noise-ish, and it's quite a large kind of setting. So everything kind of bounces off all the like walls and ceilings. So it was just, I don't know, I got on fine in that sort of environment. Obviously there's like lots of people walking around, and this was like a conference for like it was like a kind of technology conference. So I found it really interesting, and there was lots of like design software and stuff and design hardware. So it was like quite an interesting thing for me to go to, and it was nice that I could go with someone as well because of the transport. Yeah, and so that was number 5. Number 6, I don't know whether I can play too much of it, so that's why it was only short, was because I recorded it at a gig. I went to a gig, everybody. Like, what? Emily went to a gig and survived. So basically, I was really worried about this. It was my favourite band. If you don't recognise them, it's Two Door Cinema Club. Check them out. They are my fave band. They are awesome. They're just releasing like some new singles and a new album later on this year. So would totally recommend listening to them. Literally my fave band. So yeah, I went to go see them live, and this is the 3rd time I've seen them live, just because I'm obsessed with them. And like each time I feel it's got better, because the first time I saw them, when was the first time I saw them? First time I saw them was the O2 in London, super loud. The next time I saw them was Alexandra Palace in London, again, slightly smaller kind of venue. And then the last venue that I saw them in was like near Shoreditch, again, London, but this was much smaller. There was like, I would say no more than like 1,000 people, maybe a few hundred, I don't know. Anyway, and it was so good. It was really loud, I'm not gonna lie, but it wasn't as loud as the other 2 concerts, and I really enjoyed it, and I got to see my fave band live, and it was so good. And the 2 supporting acts we knew as well. I went with my sister, which kind of leads on to the next noise, which is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I'm on number 6. Number 7, which was, if you probably guessed it was the Tube in London. So me and my sister got on a couple of different tubes to get there. We got like the train into Waterloo, and then a couple of different trains to get there. A couple of different tubes, to get there. It was all right because it was later on in the evening. It wasn't as mentally busy, but Waterloo was pretty noisy. If you haven't ever been to Waterloo before, it's quite it's like a main train station in London, and there's so many different platforms that go out from there, so many different trains, and it's always busy there. It's very much a place people go through constantly. So yes, very busy. But yeah, I got on the tube. It's fine for short periods of time, and like I once did an internship in London for about a month, and I got the tube. Actually, I got the train in and then the tube every day just to trial to see if I wanted to work in London. And the answer to that question was no, I did not. It was just too much to handle, like the tube every day, and also like working in London was quite difficult. So I tried it and decided I didn't like it. Okay, next one, which is number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. I literally am awful with numbers. 8 was a fire alarm at my workplace. So it's so annoying. Like, obviously I understand workplaces have to like do we're testing the alarms, and they say it like via tannoy, so it goes to all the offices like, we're testing the alarms, please don't take any action. So they test them, and every time they do the tannoy, and then there's a huge pause, like a huge gap between the tannoy and the fire alarm. So I'm sat at my desk, and I'm not joking you, I jump out of my skin every time. I think my work colleagues think I have some sort of issue, because I literally jump out of my skin. It's so noisy. Like, if you go back and listen to it again, it's pretty noisy, and it goes on for a little bit sometimes. So yeah, fire alarm, woo. And then the last noise, number 9. Yes, I got the number right. Number 9 was I went to like a local pub with my family for lunch, I think. Yes. Yeah. So that was just the background noise in our local pub. I think there was also they tend to show sports games and stuff, so that's why it was kind of noisy. I think it was like a Sunday, so lots of people like to go and watch the football there. But yeah, I prefer a pub to a club and a bar and a restaurant, so I'm all for pubs. So yeah, everyone, those were my 9 very random noises, and well done if you guessed any of them. If you guess more than one, I'm impressed. My standards are pretty low. So yeah, let me know if you want that feature to come back or whether to scrap it, but I quite enjoy kind of recording bits and pieces as I go about my life, so yeah. So I want to talk to you guys about a hunt that I went on in March. This was the hunt for noise cancelling headphones, and it was a long one. Since January, I had been looking and pondering about a pair of noise cancelling headphones. So I'd actually been obsessively comparing and watching YouTube reviews on which were the best brand to invest in. So I hadn't ever owned wireless or noise cancelling headphones before. Just the ones that come with iPhones, just the in-ear sort of ones. But I knew that I needed some soon, because more people were moving into my open plan office at work, so the background noise can get too much, and it sort of tips me over the edge mood wise. So after much deliberation, I went for the Sony WH-1000 XM3s. So they're the latest ones. I think there's XM2s. They're just the ones that came out previously, but I went for the XM3s, which I think I got off Amazon. Yeah. And so far I'm really liking them. I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while to unbox them because I'm rubbish at opening new stuff. I still have new shoes I'm struggling to get into, so yeah, I always have that problem. But I shared the process of them, me unboxing them and pairing them with my phone on my Instagram stories. So if you want to have a look, just click on the sounds highlight under my Instagram profile. So far, they're super comfy. I was really worried about them sitting funny over my head because I've got glasses, which I wear 24/7. And the ends of them, I was worried that they'd pinch behind my ears or push in between into the back of my head, because I find ear defenders do that because they're so tight to your head. But I can confirm they are a great pick for glasses wearers because they don't smush your glasses into your face, which is really annoying. So would recommend. They also have active noise cancelling, so it's called ANC, and ambient noise mode settings, which depend on if you're sitting, standing and travelling. So also they have this really cool feature that if you're listening to music and someone comes up to you for a conversation, or say like you walk into a coffee shop to order something, you can just place the palm of your hand over, I think it's the right hand ear cup, and you can instantly hear what's being said in the place you're like in. So it like cuts out the like noise cancelling, ambient sound or whatever music you're playing, so that you can actually hear without taking your headphones off. It's super clever, and it means that you don't have to take your headphones on and off all the time. So I'm actually yet to try them on public transport, but in a quiet environment they've been pretty good. The only thing I will say is that you can kind of still pick up voices a little bit, which I guess it's not like a bad thing, because you don't want to totally shut out the world, because, you know, say if you're crossing a road or something like that, it might be dangerous, or if you're travelling and you miss your stop sort of thing. They have 30-hour battery life. It's 38 hours battery life if you don't have the noise cancelling on. And there's also an option to switch to like the wired connection, so just plug in a wire to the headphones if they run out of battery, so you can still use them as headphones. And the accompanying app has like literally oodles of different like features and sound configurations to like play and test out. So I think there was like equalizer things, and you could change the kind of sound to like kind of more bassy or like club or party like there's literally so many options. So I don't know if you guys would be interested, but I might do like a little review post like on my blog after a few months of using them. So that was just kind of my initial sort of unboxing sort of thing. I haven't used them since. They are really comfy, like you can wear them for like a couple of hours easily, which is quite good. And I hear people that, like, I've read reviews and also watched some YouTube videos of people who like wear them on flights and stuff, and they seem to be quite comfortable for like a few hours, and they seem to be really good at that, cancelling out the noise of like an airplane, which can be quite noisy when you're on board. So yeah, I'd recommend them so far. I think it's the only thing that lets it down a little bit is you can still hear kind of through the noise cancelling. I thought they'd be like, I don't know, like totally noise cancelling or like totally cut out background noise, but they don't like entirely. Yeah, so I would recommend them. I think at the moment I give them a 9 out of 10, which is not bad at all. I think I got them off Amazon. They are pricey, I'm not going to lie. I did save up for them. I think they were just under £300, which I know is really expensive, and I know not everyone can afford. So it is something I saved up for, and it is some money that I'd saved up from birthdays and things. But I would have a look around on Amazon and also on YouTube for like reviews and things, because there's some really good like middle ground ones that are sort of 30-40 quid, and some of those have like ridiculous reviews on Amazon. They have like 2,000 reviews worth of like 4 or 5 stars. So don't get hung up on the amount and, you know, the amount of money, because you can get some really decent noise cancelling headphones, and I'd never had them before, so I wanted to get a pair that was going to last me, and I knew I wanted to use them at work as well as at home, so I went for a little bit more expensive, and I do understand that they are pricey, but there's definitely some really good reviews on YouTube for like loads of different price ones, so I definitely recommend checking them out. Yeah, let me know what you think. I've had another person who's messaged me on Instagram say they also have those headphones and they really enjoy them, and also another person who's thinking about buying them. So if you have any questions, do let me know. So I thought I'd share like a little trip that I went on. So I actually visited a zoo with my favourite person, and I really enjoyed seeing so many different animals. This was a few weekends ago, but I thought I'd share some photos that I took. So those are on my Instagram and my blog. This wasn't too far back. When was it actually? This was in March, so you wouldn't have to scroll that far back. So yeah, I haven't been to a zoo in years. Short tragic story, guys. Last time I went to a zoo when I was little, I cried profusely during a free elephant feeding session, during which an elephant touched my hand, which really freaked me out. Yeah, not cool, and my family remind me of this at every possible opportunity. So anyway, apart from that previous tragic story, it was a really interesting environment to visit. So I hadn't been in ages, so I didn't realise like there's so many different indoor and outdoor areas. There were lots of loud children. It's not a complaint, it's just an observation, but there was loads to see and do. My favourite areas to visit were the incredible sea lion tunnel, where you could walk underneath. They're like huge tanks and you can see them swimming past. If you look at my Instagram or blog, you can see the video that I took of them. They literally like swim right over this tunnel and it's so cute. They come up so close to you as well. Also, I loved visiting the penguins at this zoo because you can see them swimming underwater in one section, and then you like get to like go like up close to them on dry land too, and it's so good. Like, I don't know, just to be able to like, you were literally like, I don't know, I say like a lot, sorry. They were the other side of this glass like partition, and you could sort of lean over it a bit, so you could actually see them without being kind of behind a big kind of glass, zoo thing. So what do you call it? Zoo, like a zoo enclosure. That's what I'm looking for. So it was really cool because you could actually like properly see them, and they were like coming up to the glass and you could look over, and there were all different types, and it was really cool. I also got to see some meerkats, which you'll see on my Instagram and blog post. They were literally just like you see them on TV, all stood up, so cute. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you guys have like a favourite zoo, park, museum, garden, like that you like visiting. Like if you do, let me know, because like I'm really keen to, I don't know, go and visit more kind of animals and stuff, and it was really good fun. Like, I underestimated how much fun it would be, and even though it was a bit noisy, it was really good fun, and I definitely recommend it. It's a really good day out at a zoo, and I think even if you take your own snacks and stuff and have a little picnic, you can like make a real day of it. Me and the person that I went with, we had a cream tea, which was really nice. They had like a little tea room, and we had tea and scones, so that was a really nice kind of little treat in the middle of the day to like keep us going. But yeah, would recommend. Let me know if you guys recommend anywhere else that you think I should visit. And yeah, I totally underestimated how cool zoos are. So I have a really quick like little story that I want to mention from a doctor's that like I went to go visit. He was a consultant actually, so I don't know, it's been going around in my mind for like a couple of days, and I sort of feel the need to share it further. I did share it on my Instagram stories as well. So I saw a consultant at my local hospital for an appointment, and he wanted to go over my medical history, which I was more than happy to do, so we just proceeded to do that, and I explained what medications I'm on and like the reasons behind them. So I'm on 5 different medications at the moment. I'm trying to hopefully get them down at some point. So I explained what medications I was on and the reasons behind them, and I explained like about past therapy I'd had, nothing particularly exciting. I also happened to mention that following the last set of therapy I'd done, that I was actually waiting an autism assessment, and the consultant was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, yeah. And he was like, "But you don't look like you have autism." And then I was just like sat there with like, I had no words. I was like, sorry? Like, what? Like, he said you don't look like you have autism. I was like, he shouldn't have said that, okay? At all, really. And maybe he didn't mean to phrase it that way. Like, I totally understand. But I think, like, having thought that over, it was actually like a potentially kind of harmful thing to do. Like, to say someone doesn't look autistic is not like in any way okay, and it's actually like me awaiting an assessment. It's personal and quite private to me. Like, you can't say if someone is or isn't autistic by looking at them. Like, it's common sense, right? I just kind of thought and expected a bit better from a consultant, and I understand he might have said it wrong in the moment, totally get that, but I think it's quite harmful to say you don't look like you have autism. I think he thought because maybe I was giving good eye contact, maybe I was speaking I don't know, like I am now, you know, I was forming, you know, a good conversation with him, that he thought I didn't look like I have autism. Just saying that is like, what? How can you say someone doesn't look like they have autism? So yeah, I thought I'd just share that little nugget of story. I don't know, I expected more of a consultant, and it was something I really had to brush off. I just thought there's no point. It's not like I was going to argue. I'm not the sort of person who argues or raises their voice or anything. So I did sort of brush it off. But like thinking back to it, I was like, I think it was lucky that he'd said that to me and not someone else in a way, because that could have been really hurtful to someone else to say that and really have kind of knocked their confidence a bit. So I just thought I'd share it. I don't know. I'm all about sharing my experiences, and I just think it wasn't the right thing to say, and I hope maybe like the NHS might kind of, I don't know, like I was speaking to someone on Instagram who I won't name, who says that they're like support for like autistic patients and stuff in hospitals, like some of it's okay, like they understand that autistic patients need, you know, they have different, you know, needs, but that actually there's no real kind of training for people who work for the NHS. And this girl I was talking to actually works in the NHS, and she's autistic, and she's not really finding that she's got the right support at the moment. And I just feel like they're glossing over the fact that, you know, there's autistic patients, but there's also autistic people working for the NHS. And I don't know, just a little bit more awareness, a little bit more training. I know budgets and stuff, like whatever, I get that, but I don't know, a little bit of awareness, a little bit of training could help. It really could. Yeah, so just thought I'd mention that. Let me know your guys' experience with stuff like that, like with hospital appointments, doctor's appointments, that sort of thing. At the moment it's quite frustrating for like our GPs. Like our doctor's surgery at the moment, it takes 2 months to get just a general appointment. They're really good about emergency appointments. They're really good about that sort of thing. But say you need medicine review or like a general checkup or something like that, it can take 2 months to like get an appointment. So I think last time I had to wait, like I booked it for like 5-6 weeks in advance, because that was the only appointment I could get. And luckily it wasn't, you know, important, like, you know, it wasn't an emergency, and I know they're good about that sort of thing, but it's difficult because, I don't know, if you need your medicine reviewed, if you need an appointment and it's not an emergency, like, you still need an appointment. So that's something that me and my family are finding frustrating at the moment, is that, you know, we can't really get to our GPs within a few, you know, even if it was a couple of weeks wait, I understand that, but when it's a few weeks, you know, things can get worse, or, you know, you struggle a bit. So yeah, this wasn't just a doctor story, was it? I went off on one, as I always do. Yeah, let me know what your experience is with not just the NHS. The hospital appointment I went to, that was a private appointment, but it wasn't an NHS consultant. But let me know what your kind of experiences have been with both private and NHS appointments and things. I'd find it really interesting to know, actually, because I'm sure different parts of the UK and Ireland and stuff, like, they have different like appointment, like how they work things out. So it'd be interesting to know if you guys want to share. So yeah, let me know. So a few weeks ago, what week was it? It was from the 1st to the 7th of April. It was World Autism Awareness Week. I don't know if you guys saw anything about it on like social media or anything like that. But I was asked by Katie at Chewigem to sort of do a video or like an audio recording of myself explaining what autism meant to me. So I did that. I sent Katie back an audio file, and Chewigem put like a big video together on their Facebook about World Autism Awareness Week and what it means to individuals. So I thought I'd just read out what I recorded, so basically record it again. So what does autism mean to me? So autism to me means we are different and not less. We interpret the world around us differently, which means we struggle to process both the physical and emotional things in our everyday lives. And that's okay. We are unique and have our own routines, structures, and schedules that work for ourselves. We are constantly having to adapt to new environments, new people, new experiences, and new clothes which have annoying labels in the back of them. We have in-depth knowledge on our special interests, we are sensory beings who think and feel deeply, and we have super cool fidget toys and chewy jewellery. We are a community of babies, toddlers, children, teenagers, and adults on a spectrum that's supported by incredible parents, relatives, guardians, families, professionals, caregivers, the list goes on. In short, we are a force to be reckoned with. So that was what my little audio clip was. So if you want to watch the whole video, it's over on Chewigem's Facebook page. Chewigem is spelled Chewigem, so not with a Y. But yeah, go check it out. It's on their Facebook page. A few different kind of, how should I put it, influencers? I don't know. Maybe like autistic people who have a social media presence, let's put that. Shared their views as well, and it was a really interesting video to watch, so I recommend going and checking it out. So yeah, that was for World Autism Awareness Week. So I've got a few more things that I thought I'd talk about and mention. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was a few books that I've kind of bought recently. So they arrived this week. So at the moment, I'm actually currently reading Brief Answers to the Big Questions by Stephen Hawking, which I'm like quite close to finishing, which is a good book. I would recommend it, although it's very kind of mathsy / sciencey, so some of it has gone over my head. Anyway, I bought a couple of books off Amazon UK, and I've seen a few people reading them and posting like good things about them across social media. So I'm trying to read more around my special interests, like design and mainly graphic design, as well as like I'm really interested in police and crime, but I'm trying to get more into reading sensory and autism books too, so ones that kind of talk around those topics. So the books that I bought, the first one was called Camouflage: The Hidden Lives of Autistic Women by Dr. Sarah Bargelia, I think that's how you say it. Bargelia. If you type in Camouflage: The Hidden Lives of Autistic Women, it will come up in Google. And also I saw another post someone did about a book called So Sad Today, and they're personal essays by Melissa Broder. So I've posted a picture of both of those on my Instagram, just because I've seen people reading them and they seem to have been saying like really interesting things about them. So hang on, let me get my phone. I've taken a picture of the back of these books. Let's have a look. Where is it? So if I start with the Camouflage book, let's see what people have said about it. Dr. Sarah Bargelia is a London-based clinical psychologist with a research interest in autism and gender. She holds a doctorate in clinical psychology, on MA in child development from UCL, and a BA in graphic design and illustration from Central St Martin's College of Art and Design. Oh, that's so cool. I didn't realise she did graphic design as well. That's what I do. Okay, and then Sophie Standing is a London-based designer and illustrator specialising in human science. I think she's the illustrator of the book. Her style combines digital and handmade with an emphasis on rich colour textures and metaphorical concepts. Okay, let's see. There's a thing on the back. Okay, so on the back of the book it says, what is autism? How does it differ in women compared to men? And why is autism in women so often missed? This graphic novel explores the experiences and difficulties faced by women on the spectrum, such as late or incorrect diagnosis and having to master the art of pretending to be normal. A fascinating insight into an underrepresented condition. So it looks really good, and I've read the reviews on Amazon, which look really good as well. So I will read that, and I'll do a little review on my blog and my Instagram, I think. And then the back of the So Sad book, it says, so Lena Dunham has put a quote saying, "If Melissa Broder weren't so effing funny, I would have wept through this entire book." So that's quite good. Okay, so what's she written? That is a hard word to say. Unapologetically intimate essays on sex, death, mental illness and other taboos by poet and writer Melissa Broder, the creator of At So Sad Today. So that's what her book kind of mentions. I think she's kind of, I don't know, she does a mix of kind of poetry and essays on it. Let's see what people have written on the back. The Observer have written, "Raw and confessional, Broder writes movingly," and Melissa Broder lays herself bare, but she does so with strength, savvy and style. So Sad Today reveals so much about what it is to live in this world right now, and that's by Roxane Gay. And then Emma Jane Unsworth, author of Animals, has written, "An utterly bewitching book. There aren't many writers who can stare into the abyss and report back with humour, panache and a rich, gutsy spirit. Melissa Broder can." So it seems like a really good book and a really interesting collection of essays, especially like the mental illness kind of things I'm quite interested in. So again, I will kind of go over that, and I will try and kind of write a review sort of thing if I can do. Another few books that I have sort of been looking at, which I actually got for Christmas. Let me just scroll down to where I put a picture of them on my Instagram. Here they are. Okay, so one of my New Year's resolutions was to draw more for like my 21 and Sensory blog and social media. Like, I love drawing, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so it's kind of difficult, and I feel like my mental health can get in the way of inspiration to draw. For Christmas, I was lucky to receive some of like my favourite illustrators' books as gifts, like from my family. So I got a book called "It's All Absolutely Fine. Life is Complicated, so I've drawn it instead." And that's by someone called Ruby Elliott. You might have seen her online as Ruby, etc. on Instagram. She is so cool, and she does the most like craziest drawings, and I just love her style. It's so kind of sketchy, and I definitely would recommend checking her out. A lot of people repost her stuff, so you've probably seen it. And then another book which I have actually read since Christmas is called Quiet Girl in a Noisy World, an introvert story by Debbie Tung, and she's at Where's My Bubble on Instagram, and it is the most beautiful book. It's like an introvert story, as it says in the title, and it follows her and how she met her husband, and how she kind of worked through her graduation, and then kind of started building up her life as a sort of adult. And it's all drawn. It's all like a comic, and it's beautiful. Her drawing style is just, it's really nice. It's kind of black and white, sort of bluey kind of tinge to it. So it's not like a really overwhelming comic, because sometimes I find comics are just way too colourful. But it's beautifully like drawn, and there's kind of humour throughout it as well. And I really recommend it. I saw a lot of my kind of self in it. As a kind of introvert, and she finds out that she's quite a sensitive person, and that she kind of takes on other people's emotions. Like if someone's sad, she'll kind of feel that sadness and things like that. Also just her struggling to become, not to become an adult, but to kind of function in normal settings. And a bit like me, she kind of has these social hangovers. I like to call them sensory hangovers, but the same thing. Where she has to sort of stop and recharge her batteries. So it's a really good book. I definitely recommend it. So it's called Quiet Girl in a Noisy World by Debbie Tung. And then the last book I got at Christmas, which I think I might read after the Stephen Hawking book, is called I Really Didn't Think This Through by Beth Evans, and she's at Beth Draws Things on Instagram. And it's like tales from her like adult life, and again it's kind of a sort of, all of these books are kind of hand drawn. Some of them, I think Ruby etc's, hers has less sort of a story going throughout it. It's more of a collection of drawings, and Beth Evans is more kind of like written with drawings in between, which is quite like, they all have different kind of ways of presenting the drawings, which is I find quite interesting. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like it's going to be a really funny book, and I love her drawing style. Again, it's quite simple, it's kind of black and white, and actually all of these are black and white, which I didn't realise. See, I just get drawn to the more simpler kind of drawings and things, because I feel like you don't need a hella load of colour to say things. But yeah, all three of these illustrators are like hugely inspirational to me. And I'll be kind of posting more about the books when I read them. I don't know if you just heard that was my post box. I think I might have a package. Yeah, so those are my little books. There's 5 there, yeah. And since kind of reading and flicking through a couple of these books on the drawings, I've definitely been drawing more. If you want to see any of my drawings, they're on Instagram and on my blog, so 21sensory.wordpress.com, or just 21sensory on Instagram. So yeah, I've kind of, how many have I drawn? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've kind of done 6 drawings. A couple of them are more kind of black and white, sketchy, kind of, some of them are more like handwritten. But yeah, I've done, the 2 ones that I'm most proud of are Things That Spark Joy, and the one that I did recently, which was last week, which was Good Distractions to Use during autistic / sensory burnout, or when in meltdown. And then I've like listed 6 things with like drawings. It'd be really cool if you could check them out and let me know what you think. And if you have any other ideas of stuff I could draw, I am always open to them. I've had like, since I've posted them, I've had like a few people ask me like, would I do drawings for them and stuff, but I don't know, it's kind of difficult because I work full time, and they were kind of saying, oh, I'll share your drawings and stuff and not necessarily be paid for them. So I'm a bit like, So I'm going to see how it goes. I'm just going to keep drawing just because I enjoy it at the moment, I think, and see where it goes. Yeah, so if you'd like to check them out, that would be cool. Yeah, so what else did I want to talk about? I've got a little list in front of me. Drawing more, I've done. Books I've read, I've done. Birthday, So today is Monday the 6th of May, and I'm recording this at 3 p.m. And on, I should know my birthday, really. It's May 14th, yes, which is Tuesday, so not this week, next week, I think. Yeah, if it's the 6th today, yeah. Now, I've written a post before about how much I hate my birthday. I don't know if I can find it. I'm going to scroll back and see if I can, but I just struggle. Every year, I really hate my birthday. Everyone's like, what are you doing for your birthday, Emily? I'm like, I don't want to do anything. Because I don't know, I just don't enjoy, I think it's the kind of attention you get on your birthday, which sounds really like, why don't you enjoy your birthday? It's just people being nice to you, which it is, but I don't know, I find it difficult, like, the kind of, I don't know, not pressure put on you, that's not what I'm saying, the kind of, I don't know, people sort of want, it's like your big day, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like, it's another day, and I just like normal days. I like my normal 9 till 5, and I know it's one day in the year, but I'm kind of like this on other people's birthdays as well. I just really hate it. I don't know. I don't like the attention to be on me. Oh, I found my blog post. So this was a blog post back in 2016. We're in 2019 today, people. So what did I write? Oh, this is really interesting. Okay, so I just finished uni and I didn't have a weekly routine anymore, so that probably didn't help. And I also put that I wasn't functioning particularly well because the weighted blanket that I'd hired to try was on its way, so I wasn't sleeping with it. So I sleep with my weighted blanket every day. So now what did I write? I put that I'm very rubbish when it comes to special occasions. I'd booked the day off work as it was my birthday, and my family had been asking me for weeks what I wanted to do, and I really didn't want to do anything. I put like zilch, zero, nothing. I know that's not how people are meant to celebrate their birthday. As much as presents are lovely and thoughtful, if I could, I would love to know what I was getting, as it would remove the element of surprise. That is so me. This is so weird to read back because I feel exactly the same. I think my graduation was coming up as well. Yes, it was. I didn't feel good. So I'd ask people for tips on how to cope. I think the problem back then, it was May 2016. So the 8th of May I wrote that. And I was finishing uni. I was soon to be graduating and having my graduation ceremony, which I didn't look forward to because I hate dressing up. So that's so interesting to read. And I put like a little meme of a grumpy cat that put happy birth, and then underneath it just says no, capitals. So yeah, and the name of that post was Big Day Struggles, and it's still the same. Oh my god. Right, guys, I haven't changed at all. I'm still the same old Emily. I still hate my birthday. It's weird. I'm going to be 25, and that's like a lot of years to be alive. And I feel old, but people will say that 25 isn't old. But yeah, I'm still a little bit amazed that I wrote that and still feel the exact same way. And that was when I was like 21. Yeah, I can't do the maths. I'm really bad at maths. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, what else have I got to talk about? I think that is it, actually. This has been a really long podcast, so I'd like to apologise if you didn't really want it to be a long podcast and you just kind of wanted a general chat and to kind of move on with your lives. What else was I going to talk about? Oh, I was going to talk about 2 more things, and they're kind of brief, so don't worry. I'm going to name this section of the podcast Granola Gate, and you'll understand in a minute why. So I'm slightly obsessed with granola and like cereal in general, because they both have like really nice crunchy textures, and they give me like proper sensory feedback in my mouth when I eat it. I know I'm going off on one, but stick with me. So I like to have granola with yogurt and grapes and blueberries and raspberries and stuff, and like cereal with grapes and stuff. So it's like things like Special K or like bran flakes. So whenever I go out of my like open plan office and sit with my work friends at lunch, I keep getting it where they quiz me on my lunch choice. Like they're like, some of them are more kind of acquaintances than friends, let's put it like that. And they're like, Emily, why are you having breakfast for lunch? And what do you eat at breakfast if you're having granola now? And this like really annoys me. Like, because number one, it's my lunch. Like I choose to eat what I like. I feel like that's okay. 24, I can choose what I want to eat. And I don't actually eat hot food. Like I only eat hot food at dinner time because I have urticaria. So like hot stuff makes me come out in hives on my hands, face, chest, legs, etc. So anyway, I try and stick to dinner at home in case that happens. And I usually don't really fancy a big meal or sandwich at lunch, and I'm just happy eating granola. And I also feel like number 2, I've never questioned anybody else's lunch choice. Like even if their choice is too much for my nose to process and it's like overwhelming me. Like sometimes I find that like people like microwaving like fish and things, I find that really difficult. But I would never say anything like to them. Anyway, it's like I think everyone has their go-to like comfort food, and like that's perfectly okay. Like obviously in moderation. And I love like cereals, like literally the crunchier the better. So things like Crunchy Nut, cornflakes, Shreddies, Frosties, Rice Krispies, like any of those I really like. But I like love them for their texture and taste. And I think I would totally eat cereal for each meal, but apparently this isn't okay, and I have to get a bit more like nutrition in. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that because I don't know, it really annoys me because for me it's I don't know, it's relatively healthy with fruit, and it's what I choose to eat. So why are other people making a comment on it and making me feel small? Like, oh, Emily, why are you eating breakfast for lunch? Like, I just feel like it's quite a childish thing. I don't know, has anyone else had this? Like, I feel like I could eat cereal for whatever meal I want to, you know? I'm an adult, it's my choice what I eat, and it annoyed me, as you can hear. One of my friends was kind of understanding. One of my like closer friends at work was like, just ignore them. I don't know why they keep saying it. So she was kind of understanding of it. But yes, it was a bit annoying because like I'm trying to function in a noisy kind of canteen for lunch. Like the last thing I need is people like having a go at me for what I'm eating. Yes, right. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to leave you with one little thing, which was someone on my 21 and Sensory YouTube channel. Underneath one of my fidget videos, I think I have like 2 or 3 videos on YouTube, not that much, like commented to say that I sound like Emma Watson in my videos, which I think is so lovely. It's like the best compliment I've ever had, like via the internet, but I've never heard it before and I'm taking it as a compliment. But I don't know if you guys also feel like I sound like Emma Watson, and if it's just a kind of posh voice that I have because I'm English. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I just thought I'd leave you with that. Someone in the world out there thinks I sound like Emma Watson, and that is a good thing. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you got to the end of this podcast, you deserve an award. Thank you very much for listening this long to me just rambling. Again, going to drop all my social media links right now, so at 21 Sensory on Twitter and Instagram, and 21andsensory.wordpress.com for my blog if you fancy reading some more stuff. Feel free to drop me a message via social media, or my email is 21andsensory@gmail.com. I've had a few people emailing me, lots of like different age people as well, which is really nice to talk to, loads of different people. So do still feel free to message me. I'm very much of the opinion that no question is a silly question, like no question is a stupid question, so feel free to message me whatever. I will always try and reply, and I have a few pen friends, which is really nice, and I'm still enjoying talking to them, so yeah, feel free to contact me if you want to. So until the next podcast, I will see you guys later. I'm more active on social media, so feel free to catch up with what I'm doing there. Okay, thank you, bye.